Welcome to the Curious Minds podcast.
Proudly supported by Accelerating Aotearoa.
This is a podcast where we take a problem.
In our case, it's the poo problem here in Otara.
That's right. When it rains, it floods poo.
So our team designed an AI-driven self-flying drone called the Flying Taniwha.
To take photos of poop in the water when it rains.
So we can own our data to show our lawmakers to lobby for change.
We don't think it's good enough that our local waterways are becoming too polluted to swim in.
So this podcast is about finding small solutions to big problems by having conversations with influential people.
Hello everyone, welcome to episode 5 of the Curious Minds podcast, and today our special guest is Julie Chambers. Hello Julie.
Hi, hello.
How are you?
Pretty good, thank you.
That's good. Okay, so I understand, Julie, that you've graduated with a PhD in public policy and child injury prevention, correct?
That's right.
Can you please tell us what that means in a kind of everyday style?
So I was working at Starship looking after children who had things happen to them they didn't really expect, like accidents, so falling off bikes, being hit by a car. Mm-hmm. And we can do a lot to prevent those sorts of accidents by helping people to find car seats and use them correctly, by reminding people to use cycle helmets, and by making sure that local government looks after the roads properly, that pedestrian crossings are safe and well designed. So when I was doing that work, I was often puzzled by how government makes decisions. What is it that causes them to decide to do something or not do something? So I was lucky enough that I had a master's degree in public policy, and I was able to make contact with some colleagues who said that they would supervise a PhD in this subject. And so I started on a part-time PhD, which took me 6 years. A full-time PhD is about 3 years, so it took me about 6 to do it. And I basically researched government decision-making, both at local government level and at central government level. And I interviewed people who were high up in government, and they gave me their advice and opinions, and I was able to put that into basically a text or a book that was my PhD thesis that was accepted. So that's how you get a PhD thesis.
Thank you. That'll be good for my later years. Then. The Curious Minds podcast is trying to find solutions and trying to talk to people about how to fix what we call the poo problem in Otara. And basically the poo problem is it's where like the pipes underground under Otara are kind of getting clogged, or they're too small for all the sewage in Otara, and basically they burst and the poo, all the sewage floods down into the creek below. So how do you think we could talk to or contact the government, and how do you think we can appeal to them, the local government, to take this more seriously?
So you're starting from a really sound place. The first thing in public policy is to have a problem, and you've got a problem. It's a real problem, and you can describe it, and you understand it, and you know it's there. The next thing you want to do is work out whose problem it is and what are the solutions. So the problem of looking after the underground poo pipes is definitely one of local government. It's Auckland Council and their Healthy Waters Department and Water Care that look after the infrastructure, the pipes underground. So you know the problem, and then you have to find the right decision makers to find the solutions, to get them to fix it, because that's big money we're talking about, but it's an important problem and it has to be fixed.
I agree with you 100%. Well, that's mostly what I have everything to ask to you, but I'm sure my brother will come in and talk to you about our little idea called the Flying Taniwha. But that's all from me. And thank you for talking to me and giving me a little bit of insight on what giving me your answers to my questions.
Yeah, that's fine. I would say too that local government, it's really important to have things written down. That's what you want to do. You want to go on a hunt to find out where the money is, where the projects are to fix your poo problem. If you can't find them in the documents that Auckland Council and Healthy Waters produce, the solutions won't be there. They won't be doing it. So my suggestion right now is that if you have the energy to follow this, you need to follow the paperwork and the documents and start looking for where your solution is going to be dealt with and who's going to be the group, the organisation that spends money fixing it. And then you'll start to make progress.
Okay, thank you, Julie.
Earlier in the year, our Curious Minds team won a competition with Microsoft. It was about solving local problems, and our problem was the poo problem. And we designed a little drone that would fly to the creeks and collect the water and then send a result back to see if it's clean enough. And we believe our next step is to, fabricate it into reality. Do you have any advice on that? Bringing ideas into reality?
Well, first of all, congratulations. That's great. That's so exciting. And that fits on really well with the project that the Tamaki Estuary Environment Forum have been doing. We've been putting in real-time monitoring of electrical conductivity and water temperature in the streams. So they're actually online on the internet. You can see, I could tell you right now, if I looked on my phone, I could tell you right now what the temperature is in Glendowie Stream in Churchill Park. It's real-time monitoring because we have a unit that displays that. So the first thing is, I think, daylight, publicising. Put your results on a website. That's the first thing you want to do. You want a map, you want a good website, you want a map, you want to show what your results are. When you highlight issues, when people know about them, they become problems. And that's when elected representatives, when politicians and community leaders do things. They do things when they have to solve a problem. And that's why a lot of people get elected, so they can solve problems. You have identified a problem, publicise it, show it, put it up there, put your results up there so everyone can see. This is what it's like at Otara Creek right now. That would be my first suggestion.
And do you have any past experience of doing that, turning an idea into reality?
Turning ideas into reality are hard.
Yeah.
That's taking your science from your science project or your result into what's actually really happening. I have a bit of experience in child safety, but for stream health, I think that's the real thing. What we want to do is we want people to know how to be better at looking after Otara Creek. And I think what you've done is fabulous because you're making a start. You're highlighting the issue. The other problems are problems of plastic and waste and chemicals flowing down the stream too. So I've seen in Pakuranga Creek in Elm Park, I was standing on the bridge and I saw the pollution, great billowing white clouds of pollution rolling down the stream. So that was at 10 o'clock in the morning. I got my phone out, I rang the pollution hotline. So that's the first thing you do when you see pollution in a stream. Now, this pollution team at Auckland Council are really keen people. They're fabulous. They really want to make a difference. But it took her till 1 o'clock to get to the stream. And by that time, the stream was running clear. So she couldn't take a sample because she couldn't see the pollution. So what we're realising with the stream monitoring program that we've got is that pollution events don't happen all the time. They happen differently to the way we think they happen. They don't happen all the time. They come and go. They happen in the middle of the night. They happen over a Sunday. They happen when people aren't looking. So I think my suggestion is, again, data, monitor, get your results and then publicise them. The more research you can do, the more understanding of what you're seeing, the more likely it is that the decision makers will say, hey, we need to fix this. And just having someone on a phone line that can't get to the pollution event in time is one solution, but there might be better ways of doing it. So that's the way. What you want to do to move your what you've discovered into reality is to publicise it and talk about it. And there'll be people really keen in council and in Healthy Waters to help you solve it. So you want to be able to show them what the real problem is, and then they'll help you move it toward a solution. That's my suggestion. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's amazing. And the creeks in Otara, they're not really swimmable. Like, do you know what the effect would be on the kids swimming in there if they kept staying there?
So it's really a worry, because what we know is that the streams have high levels of lead in them. Now, lead, human beings shouldn't have any lead in our bodies at all. And once lead gets into your body, it never leaves. So lead is a really nasty pollutant to have. And leads come about because we used to have lead in our paint, and old houses had their paint stripped off. We used to have lead in petrol, and the lead settled on the ground from exhaust fumes and flowed into the streams. So lead has a whole lot of unpleasant side effects. There's zinc, there's nickel, there's all sorts of different chemicals. But there's also other things in the streams. When the sewers are not separated away from the stream water, when open sewage goes in, toilet water goes straight into the stream, you've got all the sewage-borne diseases or illnesses, apart from vomiting, getting really sick. You've got other things that can happen through that water. So our streams need to be clean, and it's going to take a lot of work, and it's going to take more than just one group, and it's going to take younger people like you. I'm getting, it's a longer project than I can cope with. We need youth to raise the question and to keep working on it, because it's a big fix. But you will do it. I reckon with young people involved and your energy, we will see clean streams in your lifetime. We can do it.
That's amazing. Well, I'm done asking questions. I'm sure someone else will take over now, but thank you.
Hi, Julie. Thank you for doing this. We're not a super sophisticated production, but we like the idea that we try and facilitate meaningful chats. And I believe today that's taken place. So we just want to kind of thank you. Can I ask one question as a slightly older host than the other two young chaps? They're between 14 and 16 years old. It's a very big world and a very connected world for them. So they're aware of what's happening in their immediate vicinity as well as the wider world. And so when we get someone like you, and I wish to ask a little bit like when you were their age, what did you want to be? What was your wishes and dreams?
Well, it's quite a while ago. I'm trying to think of... I became a nurse at 17, and I'm really pleased I made that choice. And I'm pleased that I followed it through to my graduation. I have to say I didn't find my training easy. It was tough. I worked hard at it. But I knew that nursing was the best choice of the choices that were available to me. So I looked at the choices. Did I want to be a secretary? I mean, back then, women were nurses, secretaries, or teachers. And I decided I didn't want to do teaching. Mum was a teacher, and I didn't want to be a secretary. So I decided on nursing, and I followed it through. It wasn't easy, but I followed it through. And then gradually I realised just what a great thing it is to have a qualification and to find a career. And then I stayed in it because I enjoyed it. And I think that's important. Find something that interests you, that you can stick at, that you know that there's an end point, that you'll have something valuable at the end of it that you can take anywhere. I think my family were pretty practical, and Mum used to say to me, you've got to have a qualification that you can get out there and use. And so that was part of that. I think when I look at today's world, I think there are there are more choices than a 17-year-old girl in my years did. And I think it's really exciting. Certainly the IT world, and certainly in media, and certainly in science are all really good places to look. But it's got to be what suits you, and then stick at it.
Yeah, that's the one. So you're listening everyone. And I guess the final question is, we talk a lot about, I think what we try and encourage is hope that you can make change. Do you really believe that change is possible? Because sometimes the problem feels too big. When we sit down and we brainstorm together the poo problem, as we've dubbed it, it doesn't seem solvable. It seems like everyone can pass the bucket. And at the end of the day, people don't have access to the local waterways.
There are two things here. One is that, yes, the poo problem is big. But if you don't do anything, it's never going to be fixed. So we have to start. Every journey starts. I don't know, do you know that story about the starfish on the beach?
Can you tell it to us, please?
Well, there were two friends walking along the beach, and it was a big storm, and there were heaps and heaps of starfish all over the beach. And they were in the sun and they were going to die. And one of the friends picked up the starfish, threw it into the water, picked another one up, and the friend said, "You're not going to make a difference. There are thousands of starfish. What are you doing?" And the friend picked up a starfish and said, "I made a difference for that one." Made a difference for that one.
Yeah.
So every time we make a difference. So if we look at one stream, if we look at one place where pollution's going in, and I will say the idea of having, there are nurdles, and so say there's those little plastic industrial pre-industrial plastic pellets. If we advise people, if we tell people that they can't go into the waterways, that's a start. If they put a nurdle trap, if they put a proper trap in their yard where they've got their trucks and they stop them going in, then we're going to make a difference. There is a difference. I remember seeing in Taupo the fish on the drains. There's a stormwater drain with fish on, and the little writing on it said, "Drains to the sea." Now, when I was in my 20s and, a little bit older, people didn't realise that the stormwater grates on the side of the road drain directly into the sea. Now we know that happens. People are more careful about what goes down those drains. So we are making a difference. And every time I walk around the city and you see on the side of a drain, drains directly to the sea. Somebody put that there to remind us, and every time one of those has been put in, they're making a difference. Yeah. So I hope that's helpful.
It is helpful because it makes you wonder that we should go around and observe the Otara streets. Could there be something like that here that makes sense to the people who live here?
Absolutely. People want to do the right thing. I really feel that. I really believe that. And with the TEEF project, we created a leaflet in English and Mandarin that we can pass around to say, please don't let toxic things go. Don't put oil down streams. Don't put down water grates, stormwater grates. So TEEF are looking at post-COVID, trying to put those around. So if we tell everybody, look, this is really important. Don't let industrial waste, don't let oil, don't let soapy water go down your stormwater drain, because it's going in your drain and it's coming straight out in our creek. Please stop it. And most of the time people will say, yeah, we don't want to do that. We want to see fish. We want to see eel. We want to be able to be in our streams. I think people really want to do the right thing.
Oh, yeah. And you have to think like that, because that is the alternative is too hard sometimes to think about. So, look, we want to thank you for coming here and saying yes. We met you, we emailed you, we went back and forward, and you came and you talked to us, and just want to say thanks on behalf of our little team.
Oh, it's a real pleasure. Thank you.
Awesome.
That's good.